I'm Eric Novak. Ford has been using the Explorer to be a groundbreaking vehicle ever since it's launched in the 1990s. It was the vehicle that really kind of set this SUV category on in its upward trend towards now, where today in North America we see more SUVs and crossovers than sedans. Whether that's a good thing or a bad one is really up to you to decide. But in continuing with the innovative first with the Explorer in 2020, they've launched their first ever Explorer Hybrid. This here is the 2020 Ford Explorer Limited Hybrid, and it's something I'm going to take a look at on my latest automotive review. The 3-row, 7 or 8 passenger hybrid category, to be honest, is not very large. Probably the most obvious comparison you would be inclined to make between this Explorer Hybrid would be with the Toyota Highlander Hybrid. There are some other options, of course, out there. The new Toyota Sienna, of course, which is basically a different version of the Highlander Hybrid, given that it runs on the same platform and powertrain. But there's also the Pacifica Hybrid, or the e-hybrid, but that's a plug-in hybrid minivan. There's also the Acura MDX Sport Hybrid, but they just launched a new one, a new generation, or they just announced it. And I'm not sure, I haven't heard if there'll be a Sport Hybrid with the new MDX. I guess you could even argue that the Tesla Model X could be in this category, but then again, it's not really, because it's all electric and it's much more expensive. In that luxury realm, you could probably even throw in the Lincoln Aviator, which has a plug-in hybrid version, but again, not exactly the same thing. In fact, if you wanted to use the Lincoln Aviator Grand Touring as a sort of comparison, there is actually a Ford Explorer plug-in hybrid that has been made. The problem is it's only available in Europe, and I've heard amazing things about it. 450 horsepower, 620 pound-feet of torque, 40 kilometers or 25 miles in EV-only range. But for whatever reason, obviously because of regulations, there's a greater demand for it in Europe, but I would totally think this would sell here as well, except that Ford has decided not to make it available in North America. This Explorer Hybrid is powered by a single powertrain. It is a 3.3 liter naturally aspirated V6 combined or paired with a 1.5 kilowatt hour battery pack, which produces a combined output of 318 horsepower and 322 pound-feet of torque. If we were comparing it again to the most basic comparison with the Highlander Hybrid, that has it runs on a 2.5 liter 4-cylinder engine with the hybrid system and 242 net horsepower output. So this is a more powerful vehicle. It has this Explorer Hybrid has a combined fuel economy of 9.6 liters per 100 kilometers, or 24.5 US miles per gallon. So, I mean, if you're talking hybrid, that's really a surprising number. The Highlander, again, for example, is much more fuel efficient. I believe it's 6.7 liters per 100 kilometers, 42 US miles per gallon is that combined rating. So a good third more fuel efficient, or 33%. So when you're looking at this as a hybrid, you've got to probably see it for other benefits and not strictly fuel economy, since it's really not about fuel efficiency. If it was, I don't think we'd see this 3.3 liter engine in here. Maybe we would have seen it paired up with the base 2.3 liter 4-cylinder in the XLT, or there's even that 2.7 liter EcoBoost that's available as well. But we've got the 3.3 and we've got the 1.5 kilowatt battery pack, so you've got the fuel economy that it is. So if you don't want this Explorer Hybrid for the fuel economy, because, I mean, the Highlander is about 33% better or so, then maybe it's for something else. Perhaps it could be for towing and power. Now, in that regard, the Explorer Hybrid has a tow rating, a maximum tow rating of 5,000 pounds, which is pretty good considering that the Highlander Hybrid is only at 3,500 pounds. But if you're looking for an Explorer for towing, it's not the best option either. The base XLT with its 2.3 liter EcoBoost engine has a towing capacity of 5,300 pounds, and it only is less fuel efficient by about 8%. And you only lose about 18 horsepower compared to this hybrid. So, you know, that's an issue there. And if you really want power and towing, then you move up either to the Platinum or the ST with the 3-liter EcoBoost, and you've got 5,600 pounds of towing capacity. And with the ST, you've got 400 horsepower. So even in that regard, I can't figure out if this Explorer Hybrid is really the ideal person for towing, since it's not perfect compared to other options. Now, where this Explorer Hybrid does have an advantage over the Highlander Hybrid is within its interior capacities. The wheelbase of this Explorer, all Explorers, including the Hybrid, is 119.1 inches, and that's a 7-inch advantage over the Highlander and the Highlander Hybrid. You've got 152.7 cubic feet of total passenger volume in this Explorer compared to 139.1 for the Highlander Hybrid. So there are advantages there for sure. There is more room for passenger space. Even when you get into that third row of cargo, or the cargo behind the third row, I should say, you know, if you're not going to put the third row seats down, you've got 18 cubic feet of cargo capacity with the Explorer and only about 16.2 with the Highlander. So at least in terms of interior space and capacities, the Explorer here does have that advantage. Overall, the driving feel that we have here in this Explorer Hybrid, it's not bad. I mean, it drives fine with the power and thrust. With respect to trying to get the most hybrid out of it or most electrification out of it, I gotta admit, it's been a real struggle to get a lot of EV kilometers on this thing. You had to be really light on the pedal. I don't normally test these things trying to hypermile, but I think I've tried to be a little bit more in that vein this time around. I think so far in the 5 or 6 days that I've had this vehicle, I'm looking at about 20 to 25% of my kilometers so far being as EV. And again, that's through a lot of extra effort to make it so. It has not come easy getting those types of kilometers in this drive, because it really is not tuned that way. As I said, this is not about fuel economy. This seems to be about power, and you got to be really light on the accelerator, and even the engineers admit it, it's meant for power. And in fact, I think when I've had that EV and I've jumped back into the powertrain kicking in, or the engine, it's been kind of thrusty. You've noticed that, and it's not always an ideal situation or feeling because it's not in tune. If you think hybrid, you're thinking efficiency. The regenerative braking is another thing that I've noticed that is, well, you notice it, and that's not always a great thing. I noticed the regen system as well when I drove the Escape Hybrid, and it just seemed to be a little bit more grabby than I would feel comfortable with ultimately. I mean, I guess that shows it's working, but again, if it's working and recharging your batteries, this really isn't about efficiency. Are we going in some ridiculous spiral where it doesn't necessarily need to be? Whenever I get to this point in a review, I'm giving my final thoughts, I usually have a pretty good idea about who the vehicle I'm reviewing is designed for. But with this Ford Explorer Limited Hybrid, I'm not clear on that. I just really can't figure out who's the ideal customer for this vehicle. I got excited seeing it was an Explorer Hybrid. Great, 3 rows hybrid, we need more of those. But if it was fuel economy that was driving me, as it might be for others, well, this isn't it. The Toyota Highlander Hybrid is far more fuel efficient given the smaller powertrain. And that's something that, well, is a bit disappointing. Now, great, this Explorer has good towing capacity at 5,000 pounds, but the base XLT with a 2.3-liter EcoBoost has 300 pounds more towing capacity. If you really want more power and even more towing, you go up to the 3-liter EcoBoost in the top trims in the SLT. Heck, you can get to 400 horsepower. So that's not it either. I mean, sure, you've got a long driving range on this with, you know, almost 500 miles or 700 kilometers. But how many times are you going to drive 5-7 hours straight without having to want to stop for a lunch break or a bathroom break? So that's not it either. I'm really kind of struggling to see with who this vehicle is for. There's nothing bad about this hybrid this Explorer Hybrid Limited here. There's nothing I could say, oh, just stay away from that. But there's nothing that reaches out and says, yeah, this is great. So with the higher price point as well, I'm really struggling to see how well this is going to do overall. I think there's great potential with an Explorer Hybrid. I think if they maybe made some changes to the powertrain, made some refinements, so we're really getting more into the fuel economy and efficiency while not giving up too much of towing and storage and other things that you'd want a vehicle like this for, well, maybe that's where the better opportunities are going to be. But that's my honest take. That's it for this review. I'm Eric Novak. Thanks for watching. There's plenty of ways for you to keep connected with me, so check out some of my social media links, suggested videos, and I'd really love it if you subscribe to my YouTube channel.